Let's start the recording. So today we will see the subqueries and correlated subqueries. And if we have time further, then we will see the common table expressions and recursive cities. So now in the subqueries, there are two multiple mainly types are there. One is known as simple subqueries and another one is correlated subqueries. And further in the simple subqueries, there are again multiple types are available. So which is one is single valued subquery, or it is also known as a scalar subquery, and another one is multi-valued subquery. So we will see it in some time. So what is subquery? Subqueries can be self-contained, namely and independently of the outer query, or they can correlated namely. So this is another type of subqueries. Now having a reference to a column from the table in outer query. So now in the self query, this is the first part, self-contained subqueries. So what is self-contained? Self-contained means that have no dependency on the outer query. So we can run it. It means that we can run it independently. It has no dependency with the outer query. So if you want, you can highlight the inner query and run it independently. And this make the troubleshooting of the problems with self-contained subqueries easier compared to correlated subqueries. So now what subqueries that return a single value. So these are the we can say that types of subqueries. So these are the multiple types of subqueries. Subqueries that return a single value, or that is known as a single value subquery or scalar subquery. So let's take the example over here. We have the production table is there, right? Let me know where it is. Okay, we have the production dot products table is there. In that multiple columns are there, right? Product ID, product name, and unit price. Does anyone know how can I hide this screen? This name are showing, right? ठीक है. So this is a single valued or a scalar subquery. So now what is our requirement? We want all the details. All the details means product ID, product name, and unit price from the entire table which has minimum of unit price. Which has minimum of unit price. So now what is the minimum of unit price over here? So let me write it over here. For that minimum of unit price, we need to write minimum. We have to write minimum function. So now let's see the minimum of it is 2.50, right? It is 2.50. Now I have to manually write it over here, right? Where we can say that 1 minute unit price equal to 2.50. Now, so this is the detail of the minimum of unit price. All the details like product ID, product name, and unit price. But now we cannot write this thing a static, right? We cannot write this thing as static because sometimes in future one more entry in the production dot product table will be done, and its minimum unit price will be 1.50. Then this will give us a wrong result, right? This will give us wrong result. So what we need to do, in place of this one 2.50, in place of this one 2.50, 1 minute. In place of this one we can write select minimum of unit price from, I need to comment this one, production dot products table. So now let me execute this query. So now if you see over here, it is also giving us the same result, right? This one is giving us the same result what it is giving previously when we have write over here a static value, right? But this is, but now if we this table has new entry, suppose now let me do the new entry into this table, insert into these values, then I write 1033, product name will be anything like a mobile, and 1.50, this is minimum unit price. Let me try to end, cannot, column name or number of flat value does not match table definition. Okay, let me know whether it has more columns. If it is more column, select star from this one. Okay, it is multiple columns are there, right? Product ID, product name, supplier ID, right? Supplier ID. So let me do insert for the supplier ID. Then category ID also one, and then unit price, and then zero. Now let me try to do the entry. So one row inserted. Now if I execute this query, then it should return mobile, right? It will return the mobile entry which we have done recently. So this is a dynamic one, and before that when we mention over 2.50, it is a static one. So this is known as a scalar subquery, or we can say that single value subquery, because it is given us the single row, right? One row only every time. So now let's move to the another type of subquery, multi-value subquery. So a subquery can also return multiple values in the form of single column. Such a subquery, as an example, the following query uses a multi-value subquery to return products supplied by supplier from Japan. So now we have used the same query over here, but this time we have used the two different tables, right? We this time we have used the two different tables. One is production dot product table. Let me write that. Select star from production dot products table, and select star from, I think, supplier, production dot suppliers table. So now let me execute both the tables. So here supplier ID and here supplier ID column is common. But now we want product details whose whose supplier country resides Japan in the Japan, right? So here we need to write the subquery with the use of these two table. So now what we can do, I have shown it over here. Select all the details from the product table where supplier ID. So here, if you see over here in the products and product table, supplier ID column is there, right? So where supplier ID in, why we have mentioned over here in, not equal to, and select now in. After that we have written the subquery, right? This is known as subquery. So select supplier ID from production dot suppliers where country equal to Japan. So now this is a normal subquery because when we select this portion of the query, we can execute it independently, right? There is no dependency of this query with the outer query. That is why it is not known as correlated subquery, it is normal subquery. Now, if you see over here, these two, now these are the different products whose supplier ID country is Japan. So now, can we do the same with the inner join? Let me try to do the same. Let me mention over here the alias on p dot supplier ID equal to s dot supplier ID where country equal to Japan. Now, what are all the columns I require? Product ID, product name, unit price, and let's write country also this time. And now let's execute both the queries. So if you see over here, both are giving the same result, right? Both are giving the same result. So we can actually we need to identify where at when we need to use inner join and when we need to use subquery. In terms of the performance, inner join will inner join will give better performance in this kind of scenario when we have huge amount of data. So up to now everything is clear, right? You can write in the chat box. Actually, that I have because it does not need to go every time into the inner query, right? Over here, it is going in the every row from the outer query. It is going to the inner query and find the countries from the Japan table only. But now here there is no requirement. There is only a single query with join. So there is no need to go every time to the inner query. So it is giving us the better performance. Okay, now let's move. 1 minute. So now mm, This is a multi-valued subqueries because it is giving us the multiple multiple rows as a result set, right? Not a single value, right? Now let's move ahead. Now let's see the correlated subqueries. So correlated subqueries are subqueries where inner query has a reference to a column from the table in the outer query. And they are trickier to work with compared to self-contained subquery because you can't just highlight the inner portion and run independently, right? So if we see over here we have highlighted the inner portion and we have run it independently, right? But that should be not possible in case of the core correlated subquery. So let me try to highlight the same thing over here. Then it is giving us the error, right? Because it is because here in the inner query we have utilized the reference of the outer query in matching condition, right? And one more thing I have to show you over here. If we use over here equal to, then it is throwing some error because subquery written more than one value. This is not permitted when the subquery follows or when the subquery is used as an expression. So why it is throwing this error? Because because our subquery is returning multiple rows, right? In terms of scalar subquery, it is returning only one row. So that is why we have used the equal to operation. But this is multi-valued subquery. So it is returning multiple rows as a subquery. So that is why we cannot use over here equal to operator. We have to use in or some other operators. So that error you will find many times in your working with the production database or any kind of analysis. Now let's jump to the correlated subquery. So let me execute this portion. Okay. So here if you see over here, we have different categories are there available. Different categories are available in the this table, right? Right, category ID 1, then category ID 2, 2 is there, 1 is there. Let me order by category ID, order by category ID. So category ID 1 is there. Let me put the same data into the Excel. So now what is the category ID as one has minimum of amount. So let me category ID in comma unit price. So now this is the perfect data. Let me copy again. So now if you see over here, every category has a minimum price is there over here, right? This is a 1, this is a 2, 10 minimum price. So now let me execute this query. So if you see over here, for each category from the outer query, it is going to the inner block of the same query, and then it is identifying based on the category ID what is the minimum price of each category, what is the minimum unit price of each category, and then it that result set is it is throwing. So over here it is throwing this result set, right? So if you see, one has a 1 point, let me write this result set into Excel. So if you see over here, one has a 1.50, so it is coming over here, right? One has a 1.50, then two has a 10, minimum price we are taking, right? So this is 2 as a 10. Then let me jump to the 3 as a 9.2. So if you see over here, 3 as a 9.2. Then again, let's jump to the fourth one. 4 is a 2.5. And here also 4 is a 2.5. So for each category, it is going to the inner query, and then it is returning us the minimum price of that particular category. So over here, actually, it should be a, we can give us the alias of minimum price category wise. This should be the actual column name, minimum price category wise. So this is known as a correlated subquery, because we cannot independently run this query, right? It is giving us the error. The multiple part of the P1 dot category cannot be found because it is used outside of this subquery, means outer query, right? 1 minute. Okay. So up to now everything is clear, right? You can write in the chat box. Up to now everything is clear, right? Okay, let's move ahead. So actually, this is this is known as a inner query. This is known as a inner query, and it has a reference with the outer query. Means when to use inner and when to use the outer query and when to use normal query. How to recognize? Actually, when we are retrieving data from the single table, right? Single table or multiple tables, if it is possible to retrieve the data with the join, then it is a normal query. But now, when there is a requirement of using the subquery, right? Subquery or scalar subquery or multi-value subquery, at that time, we have to use the inner and outer query, right? So in that case, outer query or inner query, we can run independently, because inside the inner query there is no reference of this inner query with the outer query. But over here there is a reference with the inner query with the outer query, like where condition p dot category id equal to p1 dot category id. So p1 is using in the outer query, right? P1 is using in the outer query as a alias, so so that at this kind of scenario we need to use the inner and outer query concept, like either a normal subquery or correlated subqueries. Now let's see the exist and not exist operator. So let me try to individually run this query. Okay, let me try individually run this query. Over here, order date. So this order date, if you see the below query, right, in which we have used the exist operator and not exist operator. So if you see over here in the exist operator, we are doing based on the customer ID. So if you see for this particular date, because this order date column is available in the orders table, right? So this particular order has a two different customer ID are there, right? 66 and 5. And over here that customer ID where c dot cust ID in 66 and 5. So both customers are over here, right? So now we are checking that whether these customers are exist in this table on this particular date. Let me execute this query. So these two customer IDs are particularly exist on that particular date of order date, right? Here we have mentioned the order date from the orders table. So yes, it is existed, right? It is existed over here on this particular date. So that it is retrieving us customer ID 5 with its customer name and 66 with its customer name. Now when we use the not exist operator, at that time, let me execute this query. So if you see over here, this one is 91 total records are there, right? So which customers are not existed on this particular date? Which customers are not existed which customers are not existed on this particular date. So it is retrieving all those customers because 66 and 65 are already existed, right? So it will not retrieve these two customer. Apart from this, these two customer from the 91 records, it will retrieve all the 89 records in the not exist condition. So this thing clear, right? Which code? Yeah, that is also that is what I am explaining, right? That is the same thing I am explaining. Over here, select star, select this column name from the customer table where exists means that particular customer ID is exist in the orders table. In the orders table on that particular date. So it is existed. So in this exist condition, that is it is retrieving, right? This 5 and 66 are exist on this particular date. So that is why it is giving us the result of 5 and 66. Now what if in the not exist condition? So in the not exist, which customers are not existed in the orders table on this particular date from customer table. So apart from this 5 and 66, all the customers are not existed on this particular date. Right? Okay. Now let's use the concept of, okay, now let me, so now let me move to the one very important interview related question. How to find the duplicate data in a table and how to remove it, right? So this is more very important interview related question. In many interviews it is asking, right? So here I have created one table, details table with sorry, with serial number, employee name, department name or department ID you can name, then contact number and city. So now here I have inserted the data into the same tables. Now let me select the data from the same details. Select star from details. In which object database it is. Okay, let me create the table over here only. So here, if you see over here, SN number one. Let me go to the data in copy this data into the Excel file. So this row, if you see over these row are duplicate, right? Now which one? Whipping. Let me select this row whipping. So this whipping is also duplicated, right? So apart from this, Rohit, Rahul, Sanjay, and Aman all are coming once only, right? So now what we want to do, apart from this SN number, don't consider this is a primary key, right? So do not consider this column based on these four columns. These two records and these two records are duplicated, right? So now what we need to do? First thing over here, we need to identify based on the row number column. So here, what we can do, here we can give the, let me order the data. I think ordering the data of this one, order by, EMP name. Okay, Aman, Rahul, Vipin. Okay, this is fine. Let me copy over here. So these two record and these two record are duplicated, right? So now what it will do, by using, when we are using the row number function with the partition by clause. So over here you have to observe by which column we have done the partition. We have done the partition by all these four column. All these four column: employee name, department name, contact number, and city. So that row number function will give the row number to each of the row based on its partition, right? So this one is one bucket. So it will give one number as partition to this row. One number as a row number to give this row. Now this is partition is changing again, right? This partition is changing again. So here also it will give again one. Now again partition is changing. So again it will give one. Now again partition is changing. all this partition, right? All this column combination is one partition. So it is changing, right? So again it is giving 1. Now over here what it will do? Again it is changing from the previous one. 1 minute. Where we, so again it is giving 1. Now this whipping is coming second time, right? Whipping is coming second time because all these column combinations are same, right? All these column combination are same in whipping second time. Like employee name is same, department name is same, contact number is same, and city is same. So it will give us second one, not the one. Again over here, partition is changing from the previous row. So it is giving us one. And again over here it is the same. So it is a second partition of this value, right? So it is giving second. Now what we need to do, how can we identify the duplicate rows? So whenever, remember one thing, whenever there is a partition or the combination of this column, partition is greater than one, are called as a row, duplicate row. This one is a duplicate row. Now this one is a duplicate row because it is a partition greater than one, right? It is a partition greater than one. So now what I have done over here in the query, let me select the data. So it is giving us the same result what I have written in the Excel, right? One, 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 then one, two, then one, two. So now what is our requirement? We need to identify where RK means rank, or you can give any name, any alias name like row num, where row num equal to 2. That is our duplicate data, right? So now let me try to select row num equal to 2. It will throw some error because we cannot use ranking functions directly in the where clause. We cannot use ranking functions directly in the where clause. So let me execute the data. We cannot use window functions can only appear in the select or order by clause. Window functions can only appear in the select or order by clause. So what is the solution for this? The solution for this is we need to create a, either we can create a subquery or either we can create a common table expression. So let me try to create a subquery first. Select star from. This is our one table T where row num equal to 2. So guys, this one is known as a subquery as well as a derived table. This one is known as a subquery as well as the derived table. Means derived table. Why derived table? because when we write the query, or we can say the subquery inside the from clause of the select statement, then it is known as derivable. Right? We are writing the subquery inside the from clause of the select statement. We are writing the subquery inside the from clause of the select statement. That is why it is known as the derived table. Now, in the Oracle, this one is known as inline view. If I am no not wrong, in the Oracle, this one is known as the inline view. Now let me select the data. Now let me select the data. So it is now it is retrieving only two, right? Only two, because we have mentioned over here, right? That number two is what our requirement. Now let me see whether we can delete data or not. Let me try to do that. Delete. Let me try now. Delete T from the subquery. So here two rows are affected. Two rows are affected. Now let me select the data. So only one combinations are there, right? We have successfully deleted the duplicated data, right? With the use of subquery, with the use of derived table, or you can say that subquery. But now the same thing you can do with the city as well. So let me try to insert the data again. Insert into details table. You are getting the things right, guys. These are very important concepts, and you can say mid-level advanced concepts. This one you can say that not very easy, not very much complex. Insert into details. Why it is giving the error? Okay, let me try to execute now. So I have inserted the data again. Now let me do over here select star only. Let me select the data again. So again it is coming 2 to right. Now how we can do with the help of city? So by this way we can, over here what we have done, over here we have done the same thing. We are just selecting the data, then all this entire block we are putting inside the city. Entire of this block we are putting inside the city. Then what we are doing in the outer query, we are just retrieving data from the city. And now what we need to do, if I select this one, then it is giving us the same result, right? Now this is a city, and from the city I want to use RK, means RK equal to 2 only, right? RK equal to 2 only. So where RK equal to 2. Now we are successfully selected the duplicate data. Now what we need to do? We need to do delete. Let me try to delete the data. So again it is giving 2 rows affected, right? Now let's select the data from the details table. So it is giving us only unique values. If you see over here, it is giving us only row number or rank or RK equal to one value only, right? Clear, guys? This is very important interview related questions. How we can identify the uh, how we can identify the duplicate data in the table, and how we can eliminate or remove those duplicate data. At that time, you have to use row number or partition by clause, and then you have to do ordering. Whatever ordering you will do, that will be fine. And then either city or subquery you have to use, right? Now let me again. So here we have done the use of the derived table only, right? I think this is another example, but the concept is same. Example is different, but the concept is same. Over here also we have seen the common table expression. A common table expression is a similar concept to a derived table in the sense that it's a name table expression that is visible only to the statement that defines it. It means that now here you cannot use select star from C. We cannot use over here C, right? It is not possible. InVillage object name C. Why? Because that is visible only to the statement that defines it. So up to here everything is clear, right? Let me try to show you if it is data is there. Select star from employee table. So here salary column is not available, right? Let me find another one. Okay, in this database, it is not available. It will available in the adventure works. Let me jump to the adventure works. Okay, we will see it later on from our next. Yeah, I will explain it when we will do the regular exercises from the different platform, right? Different platform. At that time, we will write the code. Right now, I am explaining everything, but at that time, we will write the code from the scratch. So at that time, you will able to get more, right? Still, I am not finding that table. EMP. Okay. So over here, employee department, employee history, employees, employee employee TSP. Order by. Let me write this order by rate. It will confuse EMP. It is three record only. Employee. This table has no salary information. Okay, we will see it in the next our next session.